Evelyn spent her days surrounded by the echoes of time, exploring the labyrinthine shelves of the old city library. The scent of aged parchment and the warm golden light of late afternoons made it a sanctuary. Her raven-black hair fell in soft waves, her piercing blue eyes scanning titles for forgotten stories. One quiet evening, while scaling a ladder to reach the highest shelves, her gaze fell upon something unusual. Tucked away amidst dusty tomes was a leather-bound journal, glowing faintly as if alive. Her fingers trembled as she carefully pulled it free. The cover bore an inscription in a language she couldn't decipher. The gilded edges shimmered in the dim light, pulling her into its mystery. Curiosity overwhelmed her as she opened the journal. The first line struck her like a lightning bolt, "For the one I have dreamed of but never met." The handwriting was elegant yet urgent, as though the writer had poured their soul into every word. Page after page described a man named Marcus, his thoughts, his fears, his vivid dreams of a woman with raven-black hair and piercing blue eyes. Evelyn's hand trembled as she turned the pages, realizing that Marcus was describing her. When she finally succumbed to sleep, she found herself transported to a place she had never seen yet felt deeply familiar. She stood in a grand ballroom, the golden glow of chandeliers casting shimmering reflections across polished marble floors. She looked down to see herself in an elegant vintage gown, its fabric flowing like liquid light. Across the room stood a man. His dark curls framed a face both rugged and refined, and his warm brown eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her breath hitch. Evelyn's pulse quickened as he began to walk toward her. She opened her mouth to speak, but her voice trembled as she asked, "Who are you?" The man smiled faintly, as though her question carried an answer he had waited lifetimes to give. But before he could respond, the ballroom began to dissolve, the music fading into a distant echo. Evelyn jolted awake, gasping for air, her heart pounding in her chest. The dreams continued, growing more vivid with each passing night. In one, Evelyn walked through a moonlit garden with Marcus, the air filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the soft rustle of leaves. He spoke of his life, his longing, and his unwavering belief that she was his destiny. She found herself drawn to him, their hands brushing as they strolled. The warmth of his touch lingered long after she woke. In another dream, Evelyn found herself seated by a roaring fireplace. Marcus was at a desk, writing furiously on parchment. He glanced at her, his expression a mix of longing and determination. "I've waited for you," he said, his voice low and steady. "I don't know why I see you, but you are my everything." Evelyn reached out, her fingers brushing his hand. A jolt of warmth shot through her, and golden sparks seemed to dance where their skin met. But even in her dreams, a shadow of sorrow lingered. She awoke each morning feeling both fulfilled and hollow, as though part of her heart remained in another time. The journal hinted at a curse, a binding that tied their souls together but kept them apart. Determined to uncover the truth, Evelyn researched the places Marcus described. Her search led her to an abandoned estate on the outskirts of the city. The once grand ballroom now stood in ruins, its walls crumbling and ivy creeping through shattered windows. Yet as Evelyn stepped inside, she felt a strange sense of belonging. Standing in the center of the room, she closed her eyes and let her mind drift. In her imagination, the chandeliers sparkled, the music swelled, and the walls glowed with golden light. She saw Marcus approach her, his hand outstretched. "May I have this dance?" he asked, his voice gentle yet commanding. She took his hand, and they moved together as though they had danced this way 1,000 times before. The weight of centuries pressed down on her, and she felt tears welling in her eyes. When she opened them, the vision was gone. The ballroom was silent, save for the rustling of leaves in the breeze. That evening, Evelyn returned to the journal, seeking answers. As she read the final entry, tears streamed down her face. Marcus's words described their endless cycle of meeting and losing one another, each time more painful than the last. But the last page held a promise: "If you find this, our love can finally break free." A soft voice broke the silence. "Evelyn." She froze, her heart pounding. Slowly, she looked up, and there he was, Marcus, standing before her, his figure glowing faintly with golden light. "Marcus," she whispered, disbelief and hope mingling in her voice. He stepped closer, his warm brown eyes filled with emotion. "This is our moment," he said. "But it won't last." He explained the curse that bound them. To break it, Evelyn would need to let go of their connection, sacrificing her memories of him. The thought shattered her. "I can't lose you," she said, tears spilling over. "You'll never lose me," Marcus replied gently. "I'll always be with you, in every sunrise, every whispered breeze. But to free us, you must choose." Evelyn's heart ached as she nodded. Marcus cupped her face, his touch soft and reassuring. "Thank you," he whispered, leaning in to press a kiss to her forehead. As golden light enveloped them, he began to fade. Evelyn reached out, her voice breaking. "I'll never forget you." When she awoke the next morning, the journal was gone. Evelyn felt a hollow ache in her chest, a sense of something lost. Yet as she stepped into her garden, she saw a single red rose blooming among the thorns. She knelt beside it, her fingers brushing its delicate petals. Though she couldn't remember his face, she felt his presence in her heart. As the golden morning light bathed the world, Evelyn smiled softly. Their love, timeless and enduring, would never truly fade.